Hi, I'm Tiffany. Welcome to Towering TBR. This is Phineas. He's going to join us for a little bit. We'll see how long he stays. So, if you are new to my videos, this is an excellent one to start with because the mid-year book Freakout tag is going to show you all of the types of books that I read, and we can see if any of my bookish tastes overlaps with your bookish taste. I read nearly every genre, but my favorites are definitely science fiction and fantasy. As of this halfway point, I have read 38 books, 6 of which were rereads. This is lower than normal, but I'm okay with it because I'm also exploring other avenues that I enjoy. Question 1: what is the best book you've read so far this year? Hands down, Guards by Terry Pratchett. I had read 5 Discworld books, and I was like, okay, I like these, but I don't really see what all the fuss is about. People are like, ride or die for Discord. And once I read Guards, I understood why. It was amazing. I loved the satire, I loved the humor. I thought the characters were really interesting, and immediately picked up the second, Men at Arms. Which leads us into our second question: what is the best sequel you have read? I could say Men at Arms because, again, I gave that 5 stars and absolutely loved it. But I think for a bit of diversity's sake, I will tell you that my other favorite sequel was The Faith of Beast by James S.A. Corey. This is the second book in the Captives Ward trilogy, which starts with The Mercy of Gods. Absolutely loved it so much. Did a whole video on it. I will link any videos where I talk about any of these books in the description and in the cards. So if you're interested, go ahead and check those out. What's been your best book so far this year? I'm really curious to know. Third question: the new release that you want to read but haven't gotten to yet. I have 2 answers for this as well. The first is The Killing Spell by Shay Cowie. This is a fantasy mystery about language as magic and about a woman who has to clear her name when she is considered a murder suspect. You all probably know how much I love fantasy mystery. I even did a whole video on that. I will link that above. The second release I haven't gotten to yet that I'm really excited for is Sublimation by Isabel Kim. This came out earlier in June, and unfortunately, the line for it is pretty long, but it is also one of my most anticipated books. What is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And I have 2 of those. The first is A Trade of Blood by Robert Jackson Bennett. I just mentioned I absolutely love fantasy mystery genre blends, and this is one of the best. I can't wait for book 3. It comes out in August. And my other most anticipated book is As You Wake, Break the Shell by Becky Chambers. This is Becky Chambers' first new book in like 4 years, and I've read everything she's ever written, and I am just so excited for a new book. All I know about it is that it's a duology, there's going to be alternating timelines, and there's some sort of romance. That's all I know, but I trust Becky Chambers. I think it'll probably be just as good as all of her other stuff. Biggest disappointment. This question was a little bit hard for me to answer because I've had quite a few duds this year. I think the first one that immediately popped into my mind was Yesteryear by Claire Carroll Burke. I had such high expectations for that. I wanted to love it so much, and ultimately it was incredibly disappointing. I did a video on that I will link. The other book that I'm going to put as my biggest disappointment, I think, would be Stoner by John Williams. I buddy read this with 2 of my friends, Hannah at Savage Read and Audrey at Audrey Approved, and we had all heard basically nothing but praise for this modern classic, and I thought I would love it. And ultimately, no, none of us really liked it that much, unfortunately. For me, the only thing that salvaged it was the fact that I got to rip on it with my friends because yeah, it was just so disappointing, and I really disliked the main character. What was my biggest surprise? I think that has to be the essay collection Falling Back in Love with Being Human by Kai Chung Tom. These are letters addressed to people or to parts of herself that she didn't think we're worthy of love. And they really read a lot more like poetry. I absolutely loved it. I was so glad that Becca recommended it. I will link her as well. Yeah, this was absolutely amazing. I will also link the video where I share one of the poems. That way you can see if it might interest you. Newest favorite author. I think that's got to be Chloe Michelle Howarth. Last year, I read her first book, Sunburn, and absolutely loved it. It was so good. The sapphic yearning, the characters, just loved it. And recently, I picked up her second book, Heap Earth Upon It, and just love that one as well. So I think if she puts out a third book, I'm going to automatically just want it for sure. I think she's going to be an auto-buy author for me. Newest favorite character? I have two. So the first is Vao Dai. He's an alien from the Faith of the Beasts. He is a sofa-sized slug, and he is nicknamed Giant Slug. And he really offers quite a bit of dry humor and in more tense situations, and I really appreciated him. My other favorite character is Carrot from Guards and Men at Arms. He is just so naive and so precious. I just love him so much. Book that made you cry. That's got to be How to Be Okay When Nothing Is Okay by Jenny Lawson. This is more like self-help than her other three, which are more memoirs, but she offers really helpful advice with also pairing it with some hilarious stories from her life. This definitely made me both laugh and cry. She deals with depression and anxiety, which is incredibly relatable, and her stories are just awesome. They just crack me up. So there was one point where she was chatting with a group of people, and she asked, "Is there a word for the weight you gain when the world is falling apart and so you comfort eat everything in the house?" The chat said there wasn't a word for it in English, but in German it is called Kummerspeck, which roughly translates to grief bacon. And that really hit hard. I'm dealing with the loss of some people, and I'm grieving, and having that word grief bacon, just trying to eat all your feelings, hella relatable to me. She also encourages us to treat ourselves the best we can. She says, "I found that whatever brings you joy is worth cultivating and savoring. Don't begrudge yourself some happiness." Absolutely love this. Would recommend. Strangely, I haven't done a video on that. If you're interested in that, let me know. Book that made you happy. Okay, so I also have two answers for this. I can't just say one. I have too many. So the first is The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. This was a light, fluffy, gay romance. It made me happy at a time when I was pretty sad. We are getting a situation where a man is going on a reality dating show, and he is the prince, and he has 20 women who might be his princess. It seems similar to The Bachelor, going on dates with people, eliminating them one by one until you have the person at the end. But the hitch is he's not interested in any of the women. He's interested in his male handler who is trying to make this show successful. I really enjoyed it, and I will probably check out more of her stuff when I'm in the mood for another romance. The other book that really made me happy was Slayers of Old by Jim C. Hines. This was an ALC that I received, so I will link the video. And it's about three elderly chosen ones coming out of retirement to thwart the apocalypse. We have like a Buffy character who's in her 50s. We have a half succubus in her 60s, and we have an incredibly powerful wizard who I think is 100 or nearly 100. And yeah, they have to work together to save the world yet again. And it was fluffy, it was fun. There were stakes, but it was still incredibly humorous, and so I enjoyed that one quite a lot. What books do you need to get to by the end of the year? So obviously, I want to get to my two most anticipated books, A Trade of Blood and As You Wake, Break the Shell. I also am really excited for John Green's new book called Hollywood Ending. I have read both of his nonfictions, Everything is Tuberculosis and The Anthropocene Reviewed. He is an incredibly skilled writer. makes very consumable books. And so I'm ready to try one of his fictions, and that is going to be coming out later this year. Additionally, I want to prioritize more Discworld books. I would like to challenge myself with a Le Guin book and a book by N.K. Jemisin. Both of those have really challenging writing styles that I will kind of need to be in the right mood for, but I want to challenge myself because I really like their books. And I am also going to be diving into more fantasy mystery genre blends. I'm excited for the books that I'm hopefully going to read in the second half of the year. Okay, so that's what my reading year has looked like. Tell me about your reading year. You could tell me your best, your worst, whatever. Just share how it's going so far. If you enjoy my videos, subscribe, join the community, join the conversation. I'd love to have you. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy reading.